Hi everyone, good evening. This is another broadcast from Venture Cafe. It's again our Thursday gathering. My name is Anoesjka Imambaks. I'm the executive director, and tonight we have an amazing special guest with us, Nathanja van Dijk, director of the Kunsthal. And I just want to say this is for us also a special broadcast because you know, the last few weeks we were hybrid, which means that we had a lovely audience here. And today I have to say that we're completely alone. It's only me and Nathanja and you know, a few of us from the team to make sure that this is technically happening. It is, you know, it is necessary to take those extra measures, and I just want to say, please all, you know, stay safe, and we hope that we with the Venture Cafe team still can create some awesome workshops and programming that you all can follow online. So I see people tuning in. Hi everyone. Today is our live session. So if you have any questions for Nathanja, please let us know. You can use the chat, post your question in English or in Dutch. We will translate. But I'm super excited, because she was always on my list. Yes, we have a list of amazing people that are working in the world of, you know, innovation, Rotterdam, art. And I had a talk with Nathanja before this broadcast, of course, and she immediately stole my heart because she said that art is entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship is art. So I said this is going to be, you know, the title of this conversation. Again, if you have any questions, please use chat, and I will try to post them. Welcome.
Well, thank you. What an amazing introduction. I feel very honored to be here.
Well, we are super happy, as I said. Let's start at the beginning. Could you tell us who you are, something about yourself, something personal, and how you became the director of Kunsthal?
Yeah, so I'm Nathanja van Dijk, as you just announced. I'm director of Kunsthal, and I took office November last year. So you can imagine it's been a very interesting, year. It's been a roller coaster. And before this, I worked as an independent art curator and art consultant, and I co-founded an exhibition space, or an art house basically, here in Rotterdam called A Tale of a Top. So I'm quite familiar with the creative scene here in the city, and yeah, obviously I was thrilled and extremely honored when I received that phone call if I would be interested to become the director of Kunsthal Rotterdam.
Wow. Getting such a phone call, how how does that feel, and what was your first thought?
My first thought was, wow, this is an amazing honor. Then after that phone call, obviously there's a whole procedure, and you have conversations with the board of trustees and so forth. So you don't become the director of Kunsthal just overnight. But I was immediately excited about the opportunity because I think Kunsthal Rotterdam is a unique institution, a unique enterprise. We're not a museum, maybe that's important to underline. We're a Kunsthal, so we're a stage for art, culture and society. So it's this mixture of these three sort of core values. We're an enterprise, so basically everything we do in collaboration with partners, creative partners, cultural partners, social partners, but also business partners. And therefore we're basically a festival, all year round festival. So what we do is we present a high contrast program of exhibitions, programs, that deal with society today. And I believe that this is a unique way of working, and also this allows us to be completely rooted in the city, in society, in the Netherlands, and also abroad. We have a very vast network of international partners. So yeah, there's this, I don't know, endless opportunities that we can tap into.
Yeah, I like the fact that you emphasize that it's not a museum, like it's so different, because I think a lot of people think that the Kunsthal is a museum, right?
Yes. Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, we produce exhibitions of a museum quality. And we present artists of, international and well-known artists, contemporary artists, but also modern artists, important art historical figures. So the quality that we present is of museum quality, but we don't preserve cultural heritage, and therefore we have this intense freedom of showing what we think is important at this very moment. So we don't have to correct or revisit sort of a cultural narrative or an art historic narrative. We can really tap into what is happening in society today, and we do that by teaming up with this broad spectrum of different partners, and that allows us an amazing it gives us an amazing freedom to present what we think is important today.
When you mentioned before in our pre-talk that it's kind of being the mirror of the city. I really like that.
Yes, I think that's definitely what we are and what we aim to be a mirror of the city, of society. So we show art definitely, but as I said before, we show art, culture, and society. So right now you can visit an exhibition on French tapestry. There's a show that's dealing with the influence of pop culture and music on the visual art, and at the same time there's an amazing show that brings together amateur naked photography. And the other day we had the Pride conference hosted at the Kunsthal. So it's a really broad mixture of what we present, and we try to always connect these three core values: so art, culture, and society. So from street fashion to Piet Mondriaan.
Yeah, and I have to ask, because of the extra measures around COVID-19, can people still visit the Kunsthal?
Definitely, yes. We had to close our doors on the 12th of March. We were closed for 3 months, which was the first time off in the history of the Kunsthal, besides a renovation that we had several years ago. So that was a bit of a shock, obviously, but after 3 months we were able to reopen our doors and welcome the audience again. And of course we're following the COVID regulations. So basically the regulation is that you need to maintain 10 square meters per visitor. So basically what you do, you have your floor plan, you know how many square meters you have, so you know how many visitors you can have at a certain moment in your building. We have a one-way routing. So we made a lot of adaptations and adjustments to guarantee a safe visit.
Yeah, I think it's really nice that it's still possible, right, to visit the Kunsthal, especially in these times that everyone needs to stay home or working at home. I want to go back to a little bit personal story. Were you always that interested in art because you study it, of course, and you worked in that field?
Yeah, I think I've always have been. I've been lucky to be able to grow up in a family where art and culture was very present. So my parents would take me to the museum, and then my brother and sister, they were bored after half an hour, and I was always very keen on seeing, the next gallery. And especially my mother really stimulated me to really look attentively, not only at art, but also at the world around you. So she would, she would notice the beautiful sunlight on the building or an interesting architectural construction or something like that. I guess I've always been interested in creativity, and I believe it's a way creativity and art and culture is about being human, about being in the world, about identity, and it is something that we do collectively. So it's about who we are. That's what makes it so interesting, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm wondering. So you always worked in the field of art, and being a director of the Kunsthal is something different than being a director of a museum, for example. But I love the fact that when in our pre-talk again, you mentioned like art is entrepreneurship, and you really approached it with an entrepreneurial mindset. I was like instantly like hooked to your story. I'm like, wow, I never looked at it like that, like art being presented as something, as an enterprise. Could you maybe explain why you said that?
Well, we could approach this question from different directions. Well, let's start with the Kunsthal. We are an enterprise. So we have these 7 amazing galleries, 7 halls, and we have this high contrast program that we present, and we always do it with partners, and we always have to start anew because we don't have a collection. So everything we do, we have to reinvent, be innovative, create new connections with partners, with artists, and every exhibition that we present, our budget is not covered in advance, so we have to fundraise, we have to make profit from ticket sales, so it's an enterprise. It's a business, and I think what people, it's a massive misconception that art is sort of set aside from any other business. It's also a business domain, but it's a creative and social business. And then if you think about artists, for example, can you imagine that you're in your studio, you've been invited by the Kunsthal for a solo exhibition. We work a lot with young artists. We think it's very important to make way for talented people. Can you imagine you have this amazing gallery at your disposal, a budget, and a team of curators that are willing to talk to you and think along, and you have to create something from scratch. I think that's being an entrepreneur, right? So you have to start with an idea, and then from there bring that idea into the world, manifest it into the gallery, into words, into an object. You have to be able to talk about it. You have to think about how your audience will perceive it. So I think that's entrepreneurship.
It's basically thinking about every time having a startup, basically,
Definitely.
right? Thinking about, okay, what is the product, what is the goal, or like the story, the vision, who's my target group? Yeah,
and I think artists or cultural entrepreneurs are the most innovative force we have in society, and we have to. I think it will also help us to tap into that force and that form of innovation more often as society.
Yes, and how do you select those artists, or do you look at like things that are happening now in the world, or is it because of course now things are extremely different, or is it something that you plan, like the future plan forward, like, oh, next year we're going to have an exhibition of this artist or that artist, or how does that work?
Well, we always want to have this. I think this is one of our strengths, that we have this sort of broad spectrum, this high contrast program. And as you said before, we're a mirror of society. So we always look, when we create our exhibition program and our events program, that we have this interesting mixture of different topics, subjects. So it's art definitely, but as I said before, also culture and society. So we also do amazing fashion shows, but also exhibitions on Japanese tea tradition, for example. Tapping into your question more, we work with different bases of or curatorial bases. So the large sort of blockbuster exhibition, they need sometimes 2 to 3 years of preparation, because you have so many partners, you need to fundraise, you need to obtain all these different loans from all over the world. But we also can really respond very, very fast to what is happening in society, because we have these 7 different galleries, and we have an amazing team that works really hard and is very capable of sort of having this Fingerspitzengefühl, these antennas of like sensing what is going on.
What the trends are, the upcoming trends, and
exactly. And since we're not a museum, but we're the Kunsthal, so we're a stage. We also like to program it this way, with these different sort of paces.
Wow, I never knew that it would take like 2 or 3 years sometimes to really organize and plan an exhibition. And I think it's also part of logistics, right? Because I can remember there was one time an exhibition of, I think, Jean-Paul Gaultier.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I loved it. It was like, but I can
quite
imagine,
amazing, wasn't it?
Yes. But I can imagine that it takes time, right? To also, take that whole, like the collection and how to present it and the whole storyline and.
Definitely, and I think what we do and what we talk about with our team often is, yes, exhibition making, it's a profession, right?
Yeah.
But we also like to think about new ways of and innovative ways to present art. So I think Jean-Paul Gaultier or the Thierry Mugler exhibition that we recently presented, yes, they're an exhibition, but it's also theater, and it's a show, it's a fashion show, but it's also photography exhibition. So it takes time, of course, from the very beginning, the initiation of the idea, working with a guest curator or partner, from the very realization or the presentation of the exhibition. It can take up to 2 years. Yeah.
Wow. I think, hearing about this, I'm like, oh, I really want to work at the Kunsthal to create those things. Like, how do you, what type of people, like, tell me something about your team. What kind of people, their background, because I'm now super excited to work at the Kunsthal.
But it should be, because it's an amazing place to work. Well, I was very happy. I mean, I've only started in November, and it's been a crazy year. But what I've learned in this short amount of time of working at the Kunsthal is that we have an amazing team. So it's actually a very small team, a slender team, as we say, for the amount of the program that we present. So we. Under normal circumstances, we present over 20 exhibitions per year, and then a very intense, wide program of events. We work with different organizations in the city. So it's a team that has sort of a massive force and is capable of really executing a lot. 20 exhibitions is a lot, though, yes,
right?
and what is important, I think, is that we work very closely. So we have a curatorial team, we have business development team, we have a marketing communication team, and they're in constant dialogue with one another. So it's definitely, we have these different departments, but I think what is very important is that we work interdisciplinary. And that there's this constant conversation about, okay, so what is happening? How can we be innovative? How can we sort of tap into this new thing that is happening in society? What partners could be interesting? And we're a very strongly audience and partner-driven organization. So we have an outlook into the world, and I think all my colleagues are very sensitive to the people around them and to what is happening. And I think what is important when you work at the Kunsthal is also to, yes, we have a very strong brand. We've been around for a long time. It's a love brand, but everyone is very capable of sort of tapping into the language and needs and desires of our partners to make way for different voices in society. So yes, we work with Guggenheim Bilbao and Lac Menalé, but also with the amazing hip hop house here in Rotterdam and so-called smaakmakers, tastemakers, who are ambassadors for certain communities or subcultures here in the city, and to be able to make way for them and to also learn from their ideas and creativity and innovative force, you have to be able to listen very well and to collaborate.
So it's kind of like similar to community building, because we at Venture Cafe, we're also a global organization. We're also located in Bilbao, but it's all about listening to our community, their needs, their wishes, their thoughts, trends. And when I'm listening to you, I kind of hear that too, right? It's creating community, and it's really international, but also really locally, and all types of artists, right?
Yes, that's a nice way to put it. Culture is always made as a community or collectively, and I think this is a very important task or mission of the Kunsthal to create space for these different communities, and also for these different communities to be connected with one another. So we have an amazing program called All You Can Art, which is an art program. It's an exhibition, an open studio, and what we do is that we work with artists, and they find partners, young artists, but also people working or living in an elderly home, and through working together, creativity, creating arts together, new connections and also create a new audience for the Kunsthal and engage these new audiences. And I think this is one of the amazing assets of art, that cultural production is always a collective enterprise.
But I think that, you know, from my perspective, sometimes I think that when you explain it this way, I'm like, wow, Kunsthal is really connected, like rooted in the city. You're functioning like a startup, trying, you know, figuring out new products, new exhibitions, talking to new partners, really like engaged in the city. But sometimes with like a traditional museum, I have a feeling that, you know, they sometimes want to tell us as a, you know, a collective audience, like, okay, this is art, this is what you know, should like or not. And I kind of feel that, you know, when you visit a museum, you have to be very interested in the collection, but that's it. It's really like, how do you call it? Like really signaling, like this is it. But I feel when you tell a story about Kunsthal, it's already like engaged, how you create exhibitions, but also what, you know, I already feel like connected, like, oh yeah, you basically are a platform, you're showcasing things that I would like to see or that I feel listened to, basically. I think that is really, a nice asset, like a huge compliment to Kunsthal.
Thank you.
I think the setup.
That's definitely what we want to be and what we aim to be.
Yeah, like the whole setup of the idea of a Kunsthal is totally different than indeed a museum. And I love the personal questions. So if I would ask your team, because you're new, how would you describe Nathanja? What would they say?
Wow, that's a trick question. Well, you should ask my colleague who is here. Well, that's a...
Because it might be so that I think a part of your team was already there, right? So that's a change of director, maybe?
Yeah, definitely.
So
I'm the newbie in the team. And you can imagine it's always also been quite a year for us. Because after, you know, 3 months in, we had to close our doors. What would they say about me? Well, hopefully, but you have to ask them, but hopefully they say that, that I'm very content-driven. And aiming for connections, to create connections, being open to ideas, being strong-minded when I have an idea or when I really believe that something is important, we go for it. Hopefully they say that I'm open to also their ideas, because I think before is that we don't tend to broadcast or signal the network. So this is the way we work as a team, but this is also the way we work with our partners. So I think it's very important to have this sensibility for the people that you're working with and what is important in their business or in their community, and how we can add it all together.
Great, because I'm moving forward to the concept of leadership. That is also something that is always, you know, I'm always interested in what type of leader are you, or what is like, what is your unique selling point, or what is your vision on leadership? And I don't want to call it female leadership, but more like you are a leader, of course, and you are a role model for a lot of people, and I think also a lot of people that are watching might wonder, like, okay, you got this amazing position, you worked hard for it, and you are there. And I'm kind of wondering, like, what type of leader are you?
I always find it an interesting question, because it's a way to frame yourself, right? We talked about this before, like the female leadership. I prefer the notion of feminine and masculine leadership, because male leaders can have a very strong feminine approach and vice versa. I'm definitely on the side of the feminine leadership, so I believe in collectivity, collaboration, being sensitive about your environment, of course you need to have a vision and a strong framework and an idea where you want to go. And be able to translate that vision to many different audiences for your team, for your partners, for the artists that you're working with. But I also think it's extremely important to be ears of other people, and this is why I was so excited about the Kunsthal, because this is the way we work, in collaboration and in conversation. with all those organizations.
Yeah, because in a way you could say that you are indeed you believe in the power of collectivity, but you are also, in my own words, a connector. So
yes, definitely. Yeah,
that is something that we also, with Team Venture Cafe and I myself, we're always into the connections, connecting people, connecting partners, connecting. So I really like that. Yeah, I recognize that also. And I'm wondering, could you maybe share a story about maybe a challenge and a success, like a story about what was a challenge in your line of work, but could also be personally, moving forward to, being a director of a Kunsthal. Was there a time that you were, you felt like, okay, this is challenging?
Well, this entire year has been quite challenging, but it has been challenging for all of us. And I think the biggest challenge for the Kunsthal, but also many other organizations and businesses, is of course, we have to react and respond to the situation as it is. This brings me immediately to a success. I think we've done that really, really well. It was amazing to see, in week 2 after our closure, already many new ideas came from the team. We started a new program called Matchmaker, where we invited an artist or a cultural entrepreneur to reach out to 4 or 5 other creatives and create an artwork that can exist online and physically. And the idea was to allow artists to keep working, but also to allow our audience to stay engaged. So you could follow the entire process of the work coming into being, and it resulted in the first collective TikTok performance.
Oh wow! Yeah, nice.
So I think this year the team and I were very successful in responding to the situation, and also being able to shift our ideas, shift our program, and come up with new ideas for this unforeseeable future. And at the same time, this year has been an amazing challenge, to work from home to, we had all these ideas for 2020. And we really had to adapt very fast to this new situation. And I think for all of us, it's for mankind in general, we find it very difficult to deal with insecurity. So this is, I think, a massive challenge for all of us. But so far, we've been dealing with it very well.
Yeah, I have to say, it's also a key element of entrepreneurship itself, right? That you are so flexible, so innovative, and Corona is a challenge, but creates opportunities too. I see there's a question from one of the viewers, so I'm going to read it. Nathanja, can you explain your view or opinion about the relation between the city's economy and the art institutions in the city?
That's a really amazing question. Thank you. It has been shown in many different researches and impact analysis that a city that has a creative industry and has art institutions is an interesting city for entrepreneurs, for businesses, for expats. So it creates a good settling environment, you could say. I'm not sure if that's the right English notion for it, but when there's art and culture, people feel attracted to the city. So businesses tend to establish their business here, and people tend to stay in the city. But there's also a massive economic return. For example, of financial return. So for example, our Thierry Mugler exhibition that we presented this winter, we've done an impact analysis, and it turned out that the economic impact for the city was over 6.3 million euros, which is amazing. So people who came to see the exhibition went out to have lunch, do some shopping, book a hotel, and so forth. So there's an amazing financial return as well.
Yeah, I think those types of reports are very important for people to understand that art is something that's made collectively, especially Kunsthal, but also like what is the added value for it for the city. And I think, economy-wise, those reports do express what is the economic value also, right? That you with the Kunsthal, you guys attract so many visitors, tourists, also people just are living in the city that wants
and
to
we
have
create business.
Exactly, creates
Definitely.
business, and revenue, and
and
for more than only the Kunsthal, of course.
Definitely, and also, I mean, Kunsthal is a flagship institution or a leading institution in the national and international art scene. So it also really allows Rotterdam to put itself on the map.
Yes.
With the Kunsthal.
Yeah, exactly. So I see another questions coming in. I'm going to read it again. In your view, what is the role of artists and entrepreneurs in economic transition from linear economy to circular economy?
I think that artists and creative entrepreneurs can have a very important role in this transition because of their innovative capacity to really think about alternative ways of producing, reproducing, and thinking about sustainability. And also, and this I think is very important, and this is where artists and creatives have an important role, but I also see an important role for art institutions like the Kunsthal to create awareness.
Yes.
Because art really allows you to look anew. Art is not advertisement. It doesn't tell you how to look or what to see. It challenges you to look anew and you know, to find a new perspective.
Yeah, to think basically. I like the word awareness, create awareness, and you know, a little bit on thinking about indeed circular economy, about the future. And I think sometimes the artists can address problems and challenges in a more positive way, or in a more like open way, that, you know, they invite people to think about it, but are not deciding that you should think, you know, this or that.
Exactly.
That's what I really like.
And a good artwork or a good exhibition or an amazing performance challenges the viewer to take a stance or to look anew. And I think this is important. And I believe that Kunsthal, we also have a role to present these new ideas, present or make space for communities that have new ideas, for voices that are not heard before. So I think we have an amazing, important role in society.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. So talking about society, and of course it's now COVID-19, and I think this will go on. What is the future of the Kunsthal? Do you already have like a vision, you know, what is 2021 going to bring us? Or are you already thinking about maybe even 2022 ahead?
Definitely. Well, 2021 is bringing us a couple of amazing exhibitions. I'm really looking forward to the exhibition called We Are Animals, which is an exhibition bringing together over 25 international contemporary artists who created artworks about animals. And it's a really beautiful, very colorful, very approachable, accessible exhibition. So we have colorful polar bears, a horse that's hanging from the ceiling, but at the same time the exhibition taps into our relationship with animals and with nature. And so this is a very typical Kunsthal project. So it's accessible, it's appealing to a wide audience, and yet at the same time it addresses something that is important in society today. I'm also very much looking forward to an exhibition that we're presenting next fall about the modernist sculptor Alexander Calder, who is one of the main protagonists of modernist art, which is a highly art historical figure. But what we are doing is juxtaposing him with contemporary artists and showing how this modernist grand name has actually influenced artists until today, and also the way we look at art, we look at sculpture. There are many different exhibitions that I'm looking forward to. And as for the future in general, of course, this is an insecure time. So we really have to reassess, rethink,
and adjust, basically, constantly.
And what I think is extremely important is that Kunsthal will stay the Kunsthal and will be there for our audience, for our partners. But the way we do things, we have to rethink that, and the pace of our program, and how we raise fundraise, and so forth. So there are some challenges there, but I'm very confident that that we'll find our way through.
Definitely survive or even do better because of COVID-19, I think. It's, I see another question. It's a long one again. I'm going to read it. An institution as the Kunsthal operates, of course, on international level of connecting to networks. How is your connection with the local network in Rotterdam?
When I think of Kunsthal, I always think of sort of three levels. Yes, we operate within this international network. We have a very wide network in the Netherlands, but our official name is Kunsthal Rotterdam. So we're very much rooted in the city. We work with many different creative co-partners. I mentioned Hip Hop House before, but also a lot of festivals, International Film Festival Rotterdam. But we also work with many different enterprises, businesses, startups. We have a business circle of which brings together startups, smaller, mid-sized businesses. But for example, take an example, we always try to bring to the attention what it is that we're showing in Kunsthal in different ways. So what we did was we designed the shop window, the Dijkworp, with Mugler fashion. Yeah. Or when we had the Jean-Paul Gaultier exhibition, the entire city was dressed with these blue and white iconic stripes of Jean-Paul Gaultier. We do this with businesses and other organizations in the city. So I think we're very well connected locally. With city and also the events program that we have. We present it as a stage for other organizations. Next weekend we have Afro Vibes doing a small festival within the COVID restrictions. So we always open our doors for.
I like it. It's kind of like it's not window dressing; it's dressing the city and really
city
city dressing and trying to engage the whole city with the art and the exhibitions. I had a question in mind. I forgot. I was just thinking about it, and then I started talking about city dressing. What was it again? Sometimes it happens that you really wanted to ask something. I'm like, oh yes, and then I lost it. What about the local Rotterdam economy? Oh, the business circles. That was it.
Yes.
Because you were mentioning you work a lot with startups and business circles. So I was wondering maybe for people that are listening that I want to think with Kunsthal or how do I get in contact with you guys? So could you maybe tell us something more of that?
Yes, you can go to our website, kunsthal.nl, and contact us directly if you have an idea or if you want to be involved in the business circle. I think it's being associated with the Kunsthal is a great way for brand building. It's an interesting network, partners with Kunsthal, and we can create content. We always have something new to look at your place. So we really like to invite anyone who wants to be involved, and we're also very open to new ideas. And it can be smaller business, but for example,